Well, we also have to talk about India because India continues to modernize its 160 warhead nuclear arsenal, which, like, 160 nuclear warheads sounds really big to most people. Having looked at that New START treaty, like, it's hard to consider that super scary when you consider the volumes that the United States and Russia are allowed to have deployed at any given time.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
they haven't been a major player, and they are continuing to work toward becoming one by modernizing their nuclear arsenal with new delivery systems um, that will complement or even replace their existing nuclear capable aircraft. So to me, that sounds like self-flying nuclear warheads. And then also complement their land-based delivery systems and their sea-based systems. Pakistan also has an arsenal of similar size and continues to expand its warheads, delivery systems, and materials production efforts. So, like, there's a lot going on.
Let's not forget North Korea. I don't know if it was mentioned in the
Actually,
2023, but
not explicitly. Like, it was a half a sentence.
mhm.
It was like, and also, North Korea is not doing good things,
Yeah.
but it wasn't explained in the same way.
Well, that's because North Korea's listen, they're a real and legitimate threat. Don't get me wrong. They're currently struggling to be more than a regional threat, but like their rockets are kind of falling into the ocean a lot. But still, like they are putting a lot of effort into developing their
They're
program.
trying.
And we're not innocent in this one either. The United States is also pursuing full fledged nuclear weapons modernization programs, which is, you know, helping set the stage for a dangerous new third nuclear age of competition. That's fine. Listen,
Cool.
the
Cool.
mascot for this entire episode is that dog that's sitting in the room that's on fire and just saying,
Yeah,
this is fine.
this is fine. Yeah, that's not nervous making at all. Okay, maybe we move on to an only slightly less alarming factor in the clock shift, climate
Oh
change.
boy, cancer time. Okay, so we've got to go back to the war on Ukraine. Sorry, no. The war on Ukraine.
I
And
mean, not wrong.
yeah, but it's. I feel like that's something that Fox would say, and I don't know why. Um,
The war on Christmas.
the war
It's the war in
is
Ukraine.
the war on Ukraine. We've got to go back to the war in Ukraine to kick this one off too, because why not? This conflict has had a pretty significant effect on global efforts to combat climate change, as countries dependent on Russian oil and natural gas have had to diversify their supplies and suppliers, which has led to expanded investment in finding and producing these not so climate friendly resources. Russia is second to the United States in global production of both natural gas and oil. When they invaded Ukraine and the stability and accessibility of their goods became non existent, it sparked a rush to establish independence from Russian energy supplies, particularly in the European Union. And this has led to larger investments in natural gas production and export infrastructure in the United States, the EU, Africa, a host of other places, largely financed by major oil and gas players, big petroleum. So, while public resources for fossil fuel development are waning, thanks to social and scientific pressure, maybe a little common sense, and dare we hope some modicum of self preservation, private capital continues to flow into the industry and prop it up.
Yeah. And then there's the issue of carbon emissions. So, at the peak of the pandemic, widespread COVID measures significantly dropped carbon dioxide emissions from burning fossil fuels. We weren't going anywhere, we weren't shipping anything, we were just all staying put.
We weren't
But
making anything, factories were shut down.
that's true. No one was working. We were just all at
Chilling.
home enjoying the dolphins in the canals of Venice. But because we are who we are, we hit that rebound real hard, and emissions have reached a record high in 2022. Cool.
Go us.
Mhm. This accelerated the ongoing increase of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere and all the bad things that come along with, like batshit crazy weather that is directly attributable to climate change. For example, countries in West Africa experienced some of the deadliest floods in their histories.
This is West Africa.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, this is West Africa. I'm drawing a map with my hands.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
That's such an accurate map of
West Africa, right here. It's not a map. It's just I'm holding West Africa. West Africa here.
He's got the whole West Africa.
I've got West Africa in my hands. Not quite a deity, but I can at least get West Africa in these bad boys. I'm sorry, I was trying to provide a helpful visual aid.
This is what we get. This is what we get. Okay.
It's a not quite smooth jazz episode, but it's really trying.
Oh, it's real close. It's midnight for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm fading.
Yeah. Okay. For example, countries in West Africa experienced some of the deadliest floods in their histories due to a rainfall event that was Jesus Christ. I'm trying to read. Okay. Take 3. I'm just gonna try to. I can't. Okay. For example, countries in West Africa experience from my phone at you. Oh God.
I was trying to hold it in. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's your what else you got in your humidifier over there, sir?
It's just water.
Mm-hmm. Just water. Okay, here we go. For example, countries in West Africa experienced some of the deadliest floods in their histories due to a rainfall event that was assessed to be 80 times more likely because of climate change. Extreme summer temperatures in Central Europe and in North America and China and other regions of the Northern Hemisphere led to water shortages and soil drought conditions, which caused poor harvests and further threatened food security at a time when the Ukraine conflict has already caused major increases in food prices.
Perhaps the most striking demonstration of climate volatility happened in Pakistan. Pakistan. Why did I say it like that? I don't know. We flipped a switch. We are at slap happy hour. That's just all there is to it. Pakistan.
Done.
I can say Iran with a straight face, but I can't say Pakistan. Pakistan. Perhaps the most striking demonstration of climate volatility happened in Pakistan, where... Guys... we love you, YouTube audience.
Oh God.
Perhaps
you are welcome.
Perhaps the most striking demonstration of climate volatility happened in Pakistan, where intense floods caused by a, quote, monsoon on steroids deluged a third of the country. The flooding was described as the worst in the country's history, affecting 33 million people directly and destroying infrastructure, homes, and livestock. The floods also caused a major crop failure and an epidemic of waterborne diseases. You know what's wild is that I forgot about this, and it was a major event. It was on the news. I remember seeing it and going, holy crap, that's just insane. But it got overtaken by the rest of the shit happening.
Everything.
At the time that, like, I don't even know if it got a full week in the news cycle.
No, I don't feel like it did.
Yeah. Insane.
I feel like it got 0 follow-up.
Yeah, I do too. But, wow. Okay, so maybe that wasn't less scary. Well, I guess now's as good a time as any to talk about biological threats then.
Yeah. Okay, listen, I'm not even going to pretend that this part of the reporting wasn't super creepy to me. As a person who read the book Outbreak at age 10 and was thoroughly convinced that I had Ebola more than once that summer, thanks Robin Cook, and then panicked when the first case of Ebola made its way to the US, this one's kind of a touchy subject for me. Um, I don't know, like, I don't. I just have a whole thing with Ebola for some reason.
Apparently.
Um, yeah, it's childhood, man. This is what happens when you read above grade level and no one manages your access to garage sale books.
Yeah, but like you just lived through a pandemic and Ebola is the one that you're like focusing on in this one.
Okay,
That's
well,
I'm
but
not saying you're wrong for that. I'm
right.
surprised.
Well, because like at that point, especially, I mean, I was 10 in 1993. So we were like 15, 17 years into this major Ebola outbreak in Africa, and no one lived. That was the thing. Like, you couldn't survive it until, gosh, it was probably the early to mid 2000s before you could survive Ebola at all.
Yeah.
So if you got it, you was done. Around here, it's like the brain amoeba that you get from the lakes. But
I
that
always
wasn't a
forget about
thing
that thing.
for me. So growing up
Uh,
in the Great White North. So apparently I was scared of Ebola.
fair enough.
Undiagnosed ADHD in children.
It doesn't
Just
matter.
watch. Just watch for signs.
Don't let
Parents.
them reach
If
just
your
everything.
kid thinks that they have Ebola, there's a chance that they have ADHD. Anyway, the reality is that infectious disease outbreaks are on the rise. They just are.
But the total number isn't the only thing on the rise. It's also the diversity. So there's, news. I was gonna try to like offset it, but I can't because there's no good news there.
It's
Um,
not. Mm-mm.
yeah, both the total number and the diversity of infectious disease outbreaks, they have increased significantly since 1980. And more than half of those were caused by zoonotic diseases, those that originate in animals and are transmitted to humans. Swine flu, avian flu, bird flu, that sort of thing. H1N1. The more
COVID.
people there are, the more we encroach on animal habitats and increase our exposure to diseases we wouldn't ever encounter otherwise. And we're not very good at predicting which ones are going to cause us the most trouble.
Yeah. And then there are the lab accidents. And no, we're not going to open that can of worms. But the reality of human error is a major, major factor. I mean, we're out here doing major research on dangerous viruses and bacteria with limited understanding of novel disease characteristics. Often, there's a lack of local government knowledge about the types of research that are actually occurring in the labs in their jurisdictions. And then sometimes there's even confusion about lab safety requirements. It's also easier now than it ever has been to obtain and modify pathogens, which increases the chances of pandemics caused by laboratory accidents.
And as we've already mentioned, do not forget the intentional, probably both, bad actors.
Mhm.
I'll just read a little quote here. In its
Uh-huh.
2022 report, Adherence to and Compliance with Arms Control, Non-Proliferation, and Disarmament Agreements and Commitments, the U.S. State Department assessed that Russia maintains an offensive biological weapons program. North Korea has produced biological agents and maintains a program to weaponize them for use in warfare. Iran has not abandoned its intent to conduct research and development of biological agents for offensive uses, and China has engaged in dual use activities that may be in violation of the Biological Weapons Convention.
Yeah. Mhm. And here's the Russia situation again, right? So, one false narrative that Russia is using to justify their invasion of Ukraine is that the US is funding biological weapons research and development there. This has been repeated by Russian state actors, by Russian media, and, even by podcasters in the United States. Cool. Because of this pretense, though, and its potential to cause similar retaliation, the risk that Russia will engage in biological warfare increases as conditions in Ukraine become more chaotic.
Uh, all right. Okay. we're almost at the end of this epic choose your own adventure / apocalypse dystopia.
Yeah.
There's one more little issue that we're going to discuss, and then we promise we're going to be done. We're going to tell you some good news. We're going to do some aftercare, like emotional support here.
Right.
But first, let's talk about disruptive technology real quick.
Okay, I can sum it up real good here.
Do it. Hit it.
The crux of this concern is that humanity has run amok with the internet and technology in general, basically.
Yep.
We don't know what we're doing, and we're doing everything wrong. Political, social, health, and every other kind of disinformation abounds and is being leveraged, even weaponized by individuals and governments of all kinds. The Russian government, for example, has taken control of the information ecosystem in that country and has blocked dissemination of truthful information about the Ukraine war. China has adopted widespread use of surveillance technology, causing significant concern for human rights. Very significant concern.